Well, hello, vinyl community. This is David Bianco. Welcome to the channel. So all the talk recently of this big Atlantic 75 years announcement where Analog Productions is putting out 75 titles over the next 3 years, well, there were like 5 titles still not designated. And it made me think about, what records do I have that I really like that I would like to see get an audiophile treatment? So I did some thinking and some digging, and I'll share with you next the list I came up with. That's coming up next on our Safe and Sound Texas audio excursion. So before I get started today, I want to give a shout out to my good friend Armando Cordoso, who's opened a record shop in Waco. Vintage Mio is the name of the record shop. It's at 108 South 6th Street in Waco. It's near where the farmers market is held. It's 5 or 6 blocks from the silos. And he's a small businessman who's getting a record store started. He does a lot of contributions to nonprofits and really has great selection and pricing. So if you're ever in Waco or know anybody in Waco, please have him check him out. It's Vintage Mio. He also sells on Discogs. So for now, I want to say thanks to Armando for all the friendship and the times that he's helped me find records that I needed over the years. So I had this thought about, wow, there are certain records that I really like, which I wish would get an audiophile treatment. Now, some of these titles are probably going to be lame to some of you, and I get that. But it's kind of like if I were to be running a pressing plant to satisfy my own desires, what would I do? What would I take? Just so that I could get what I wanted. And if people wanted to buy it, great. But I'm independently wealthy and I really don't care. I just want to have it for myself. I want to hear how great this can really sound. That's the nature of this list. So I couldn't limit it to 10, so I'll go through it with you. First one was Alan Parsons' Vulture Culture. Now, this isn't as well known of an album of his, but it's really a good one that I enjoy. This happens to be a QX1, and it sounds fabulous, but I've always wondered what more could be done to make this sound even better. So Vulture Culture by Alan Parsons is my number one pick, not by priority, but alphabetically. The next one, Anita Baker's Rapture. I love this soulful album, and I know there's been a music on vinyl release, but frankly, I don't consider those audiophile. So I'm really looking to see if there will be a release of this maybe one day, because I think this has a lot of great recorded elements as well as smooth sounds that could benefit from audiophile capabilities. All right, the next one won't be surprising because a lot of you know this album, and it's often desired because there weren't a lot of them made. Buckingham Knicks, right? Wow, this one goes for a fair amount of dollars and isn't always easy to find, but fairly well recorded, but I'd like to hear even more of what was originally done by this album by Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks. The next one is one that I've actually worked a bit to try to even pursue some information on how it was originally recorded to find out if we could get this to Speaker's Corner to make. Coming Around Again, Carly Simon. I really like this album quite a bit. She had a few hit singles off of it. It's a very solid album. All the songs are very strong in my opinion, and it's very well recorded. But could it sound better? That's what this is all about. Chicago 17, a favorite of mine, was done by Friday Music. No comment on that, but it really wasn't improved any. So I'd love to see this one get an audiophile treatment because I know it was well recorded, well engineered in the first place. Okay, Yacht Rock Alert, Christopher Cross' debut album. Well, this was an excellent recording, I believe, and obviously it had some very popular tunes, and I just would like to hear what more was on the tape than we hear. This Japanese one sounds very good, very solid, but again, I think this is one of those albums where if it was given an audiophile treatment, we would even appreciate the musicianship, the vocals, and the recording even more. Next up, Deep Purple. Who do we think they are? Or who do we think we are? It's always a tongue twister title. But Deep Purple, this is a great album. My Woman from Tokyo, for example's a great song on here. And this album to me is one that really takes me back to the day. And I would like to see what else is on this tape that could bring to life even more of the dynamics that are part of this great album. Don Henley. You could do any Don Henley, in my opinion. I just happened to pull Building the Perfect Beast with Boys of Summer on it. Don Henley, well-recorded stuff, well-mastered, well-engineered, but what else is on the tape? I'd love to see this one done in an audiophile format. Now, this one wasn't on the list from the Atlantic, so I'll just throw it out there. Agent Provocateur by Foreigner. This was not on the 75-year list. There were quite a few Foreigner titles, but not this one. So this is one that I would like to see get the audiophile treatment. Another rare album that's hard to find, Jeff Lynne. This is a really great album called Armchair Theater, but it's very hard to find. So it would also bring it to the market, which is great. But I'd like to hear this one done in an audiophile format. John Lennon, Double Fantasy. You know, this album has a lot of special meaning for a lot of us, I'm sure, because of its timing around the time he was killed. And, you know, really him just getting started again, starting over. And it's really a sentimental record in a lot of ways. But I also would really like to hear a top-notch audiophile release of this great album. Here's one that some of you may not have ever seen or heard of. Jude Cole, A View from 3rd Street. This is a really solid album and some great songs that were on it. Baby, It's Tonight. And let's see, there's another one on here. Time for Letting Go. Two big singles that were off of this album. Very well made album, but I know there's more on that tape and I'd love to hear it. All right, rounding out this round here. All right, this is a bit of a sleeper. Carla Bonoff. This is, I believe, her last album she recorded called New World. It's just a gorgeous album. Some really great songs and inspirational thoughts that are in this album. And it's just a well-engineered and produced album that sounds really strong on vinyl, but I know it could sound even better. And I'd love to get one of these in an audiophile format. Love Carla Bonoff. Mike and the Mechanics. Yeah. Silent Running. Remember that song? Great album, great production. I've never seen anything done with this one. I think it would be a really strong album to appreciate in an audiophile format. Next up is a lesser-known band that I've enjoyed for years until they broke up, of course, and that is Mutemath. This is called Voice in the Silence. It's the last record that they made. Now, they put their stuff on vinyl. Now, the early albums are extremely expensive to get. So I would love to see the whole catalog, honestly, be done in audiophile format because there's just such dynamic work done on these records. If you haven't heard of Mutemath, look them up. Look up some of the videos they did. They did some very, very unique videos, and I think you would find them very enjoyable to listen to. But anything by Mutemath would really be great to hear in an audiophile format. Next up, we've got Paul Carrick. He's the voice of Mike and the Mechanics. He also was the lead singer in the group Ace, the song How Long Has This Been Going On? He's a man that they call the Golden Voice. and he does have a golden voice. This album is called One Good Reason. I use it to demo systems. It is very well done, but I would love to hear this get the audiophile treatment and even push more out of this album. This album features the hit Don't Shed a Tear, but believe me, there's a lot of other great songs on this one. Paul McCartney Ram, one of my favorite albums. Now, you're going to say, well, there was a half-speed master of this by Abbey Road, and I would say, you're right, there was, but I was very disappointed in it. So I really would like to see it get a really good audiophile treatment. One of my favorite albums ever. Next one is one you know probably, Peter Gabriel's So. This is a well-recorded, great-sounding album. So one might say, why do an audiophile version of this? Well, is there more? That's always what we're looking for when it comes to those kind of releases. But yes, this is a well-recorded, well-done album. Could it have even more that's there that we didn't even get on this original? Next up is one of the great guitar players, in my opinion, Robin Trower. Bridge of Sighs, his debut hit album, at least. I'm not sure if it was his debut, but it certainly was where he came to prominence. This album is a great sounding album, but I know that there's more on this that could be picked up. There's no doubt in my mind. This is an excellent album that to me is crying for a reissue in an audiophile format. Next up, Roxy Music, Country Life. Don't show this one too long, but this is a really great album with an introduction for me into Roxy Music, and I really would just like to hear what else could be drawn out of this album. Love is the Drug is a song that I'm sure we all remember, and that was on that album. Another great album by Talking Heads is Little Creatures. This is an album that really is fun. It has a lot of fun songs on it talking about these little creatures that run around us, and it really has a great rhythm, great pop to it, and it really does have some strong engineering, but could it be better? I think it could. This is a well-recorded album, and I think it's fairly decent, but I don't believe everything that we have within the recording is captured here, and I'd love to see that, as I would this last item, which is another Talking Heads record, which is Stop Making Sense. Now, this was just reissued on a double album, and they did that to get all of the songs from the movie on vinyl, which we appreciate very much. But again, I think the original here sounds a little better than the newer reissue, which is a little bit compressed and not quite as strong and clean as the songs on here that are common between the albums. But again, I think there's a real need for that one to really get some good mastering engineer to get hold of it and to do it in some form of audiophile formats. So this was my fun. If I owned a record company or a pressing plant and I could just put out whatever I wanted. Now, God knows there's licensing agreements and all the other, and this is just kind of a pipe dream. But the songs and the records that I really feel, hey, I'd like to really hear them one notch up from where they are because I really love and appreciate the music so much. So as always, thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please press on the bell and the all option for notifications. A thumbs up or like is appreciated for sure, as are comments. Tell me what you might want to hear. What albums might you want to see done in an audiophile format? Maybe there is one of a version that I talked about that I'm not even aware of, and you are. If so, tell me about it in the comments. I'd love to catch up on it. So for now, I thank you for watching as always, and we'll catch you next time on our next Safe and Sound Texas audio excursion. Take care, everybody.